Welcome to the Mama Time Podcast, where we dive into all things wellness to support and empower you on your journey through pregnancy and motherhood. I'm Charlotte, your host, a proud mama of 3 and a pre- and postnatal yoga teacher. My mission is simple, to help mothers like you feel your best. In this podcast, I'll share practical tools, heartfelt stories, and nurturing practices to help you reconnect with yourself through the ever-changing seasons of motherhood. Because while you're busy caring for everyone else, I'm here to remind you of something so important. You matter too. You are worthy of prioritizing your well-being, and when you do, it creates a ripple effect that transforms not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Along with sharing my own experiences and resources, I'll be chatting with inspiring fellow mamas who are passionate about supporting other women. Together, we'll have honest, heart-centered conversations about their journeys and the transformative tools they rely on to thrive in motherhood so you can thrive too. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into today's episode. Are you ready? Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to navigate changing seasons in motherhood, and what that looks like, how to actually navigate it. Because I'm in this season of change right now. It's January in Australia, and my oldest son is 5, which means we're coming up to back to school. So because he's 5, he is starting what we call here big school, which is like in the US, we'd call that elementary school or primary school, as it's also called in Australia, but commonly known as big school when they're making that transition from that preschool, kindy, into that first year of primary school here, which is called prep. So it's a big transition for us. And I'm actually surprised myself with how I'm feeling about coming into this new season. Of course, I've done it before with my stepdaughter. I remember very vividly when she started big school as well. And I think it just hits different because I wasn't at home with her the same way that I am with the boys. And I'm just really feeling more emotional than I thought I would, which I feel like is a common theme for me in motherhood. And it just, it makes me realize, like what's coming up for me in this space. It's really the end of that little kid era for him. Of course, he's only 5. He's going to be a little kid a lot longer, but I know how quickly it goes by once they start school. It goes by so fast. And I'm just really sad. I'm sad about, not having days with him at home anymore the same way. Our days are just going to look really different. And yeah, just sort of, I know this sounds so dramatic, but just sort of grieving that season of motherhood, particularly with him, the past 5 years, that's what my life has been about. And he's entering this new chapter. So whether I like it or not, I'm entering a new chapter as well. And he's not even my youngest. I still have one at home with me, but it's even that dynamic shift as well. Like that's what our life has looked like, since Ivor was born over 2 years ago, having the 2 boys home with me, seeing their friendship grow and their dynamic has been so beautiful too. And I'm just really going to miss our time together. I think that's the biggest thing for me. And it's also just the change is inevitable. I feel like once we had Ivor, it was, a little bit of an adjustment period, of course, having 2 little kids in the house and, what that looked like for all of us, because everyone's always changing at the same time. Ivor was born at the same time my stepdaughter was entering high school, and we had all of these changes happening at once. And it was such a big adjustment period for us. And I feel like over, definitely over a year, let's say maybe like the past year and a half, we've really been in a good flow about like finding how to navigate this season and like being in a good rhythm with how everything works. And I've just, like I said, I've loved this season, especially now that the boys play so well together And they have such a sweet friendship, on their days home with me. And also when they're at kindy together. Kindy daycare is kind of used interchangeably here in Australia, those two words. But yeah, their little preschool, kindy daycare, whatever you want to call it. They have such a beautiful friendship there as well, where they get to be together. So yeah, it's just figuring out what this next stage is going to look like. And yeah, why I'm feeling so emotional about it. It's, yeah, it's just a lot coming into a new season. Are we going to be able to find our flow with that? And I think it's like worrying about both the boys as well. So Henrik is going to a school where we don't know anyone in his year. No one from where the school he's currently at, his little preschool, no one is going to that same school. So kind of, figuring out what that's going to look like for him. And then also for Ivor, he's never known the daycare that they're at without Henrik. Right now they have 3 days there at the daycare and then 2 days during the week at home with me. So, Ivor's so used to having Henrik with him all the time, even when they're at daycare. And yeah, it's like, how's that going to look for him without Henrik there on those 3 days? And on the flip side, when Ivor has his days home with me, those 2 days, how's Henrik going to feel when he is going to school? So I'm just like, I have all these things going on in my brain because I know it's going to be okay for them. And this is like, this is the normal transition. This is what happens. He's 5. He's so ready. I don't have a doubt in my mind that he's ready, but it's just how are we going to figure it out? What's it going to look like? So yeah, that's what I'm dealing with. And just, yeah, being a little bit sad about, like I said, the end of this little kid season. I've loved this stage of life way more than I thought I would. You've probably, if you've listened to my past podcast, you've probably heard me talk about how I wasn't necessarily a kid person growing up, but I love motherhood so much. I love being with my kids. I love having my days with them. And, I think Henrik starting school and having that look different is like, oh my gosh, this season is going to come to an end, and figuring out my identity in and around that. What does the next stage of motherhood look like, not only for my kids, but for my identity and who I am and what my days look like. So it's just a lot to navigate for all of us. So that's where we're at right now. But the tools that I'm using to navigate that, I wanted to share with you because there's a few steps I'm working myself through. And these can apply to any stage of motherhood. So for me, probably the biggest shift I've had, like this is having Henrik. So we went from being a family of 3 with, my husband and I and my stepdaughter. She was 9 at that point. So we were so out of that little kid season. And then, bringing a new baby into the house was a completely big transition. So that was a big season to navigate. And then having our second son, going from, just one little kid to 2 little kids plus a teenage stepdaughter at the same time that she was going from primary school to high school. There's no middle school in Australia. Primary school just goes from prep, which is like the same as kindergarten, and then through to 6th grade, and then 7th to 12th is all high school. So it's a really big transition. Yeah. So that big navigation. And now it's like, okay, we found our groove again after that last big transition. And now here's another change, and we're going to have to figure that out again as well. So I think these steps can be applied to whatever season of change that you're going through. So the first one is getting really curious about like what's coming up for you. So I've mentioned a few of the things that are coming up for me here, but just say them a little bit more succinctly. One, I think if I really look into like, okay, what is this? Like, why am I feeling so emotional? I think a lot of it is the anticipation of the unknown. It hasn't happened yet. So I'm really in my head about what it's going to look like, how Henrik's going to be, how Ivor's going to be, how I'm going to be, and just that unknown. So that's a big part of it. Like once we get into it, we will figure it out, but not knowing, that weighs on me a little bit. because I just think through different scenarios and things like that. And, I worry. I try not to, but of course I do worry. I think there's also a little bit of fear as well, like with Henrik, like how is he going to go with this transition? Like I said, I know he's ready. But what if we have really bad drop-offs? What if he takes a little bit of adjustment? What if it takes him a while to make new friends? So it's just like that fear for him as well. And like I said, my identity, it's like he's changing. My kids are growing up. Who am I as, not a mom to little kids? Like what does that next chapter look like for me? And of course I will figure it out as I go, as we all do. But yeah, I think just acknowledging like what's coming up and where it's coming from can be really helpful just to help you figure out how you want to navigate forward. The second step, if you have any specific concerns, I actually think it's really helpful to talk to other moms. So, for example, if you're going from 1 to 2 kids or 2 to 3, talking to other moms who've been in that same situation, or like for me, for example, with Henrik starting school and kind of worrying about how drop-offs are going to go and what that's going to look like, talking to other moms can be really helpful. Find out the tools that they used. I think it's really interesting from an outside perspective. We can look at these things that like all moms go through, right? So any mom who's gone from 1 to 2, or any mom who has sent their kids to school, it's a normal thing that happens. Pretty much every mom goes through it. And we can, on the outside, look and be like, oh, well, all of these moms have dealt with it so easily, but actually we have no idea. Probably because we weren't in that season of life. So we didn't have the same awareness around it. And, we probably haven't asked. So I actually find it really helpful. And I spoke to my own mom about this, just kind of sharing with her my concerns about Henrik going to school. And she was telling me some of the things that she used for my brother, because apparently that was a tough transition for him. And she was telling me that one of the things she did when he was concerned about, being away from her for the whole day and things like that, she gave him her watch to wear. So it's something he could look at every day, like have a tangible thing of hers that reminded him that she was going to be back in the afternoon to pick him up. And yeah, that little insight was really helpful. I don't know if we'll specifically use that watch example. I think that's a cute example. We'll figure out what we need to do, if we need to do anything, but just knowing that she'd gone through it and that they had gotten through it. Obviously, I know my brother was completely fine in school, and I have no memory of that even being an issue, probably because I was 2 years younger and oblivious. But I think just speaking to other moms and knowing that, okay, they had to navigate some stuff in this transition as well, and this is how they got through it. Yeah, just not feeling alone in that, and having some tools that have worked for other moms can be super helpful. The other thing I really lean into, and this is something I do in my daily practice, my daily morning practice, but it brings me so much peace, is prayer. And that can look different for anyone. Pray to whoever you want to pray to. That's not for me to say, but just sort of giving that concern over. And if you're not into prayer, you can also just do this by journaling and seeing what's coming up for you. But I like to get really specific on, what I'm seeking some guidance for. So for example, something that's been coming up for me in my morning prayers is just asking for guidance around helping us navigate this transition, helping us as parents navigate this transition, helping Henrik navigate this transition, for Ivor to navigate this transition, and just sort of putting that intention out there that I'm open to guidance, that I'm putting that intention out there, that I'm wanting the best for all of us, and yeah, giving it over to a higher power, setting that intention that, there is a good way to do this, and asking for guidance on how to do it. It really brings me a lot of peace that we're all going to be supported through this transition, and everything's going to work out exactly how it's supposed to. And then the fourth one really goes hand in hand with prayer or journaling, or however you want to do this. But it's just having faith and trusting the process, trusting the journey. So I know if I am coming from a grounded, very intentional, mindful place, which the prayer helps me get to, I've got the clarity in the first step around what's coming up for me, what the fears are. I've talked to some other moms. I've, said my prayers on asking for guidance, setting that intention of finding a good solution for all of us for navigating this season. I know that what unfolds from there is going to be what's meant to happen. That doesn't mean it won't be without its challenges, but I know it's going to lead us in the right direction, whether it's the tools to get through those challenges and come out the other side in a really good rhythm and new place and new season in our family. I know we're going to get there, and I know I'm going to do it from a very aligned and intentional place. And that just helps me trust the unfolding of what's going to happen from there. And that even though I don't know what it's going to look like, it's going to be okay. And we're going to be guided through that process. That brings me so much peace in navigating the unknown. So I hope that helps you as well, navigating whatever season you're in with motherhood in the moment. And yeah, just knowing it's going to be okay. And this is just another part of motherhood that as our kids grow and change, so do we. And we will all figure it out together and come out the other side of it being in a beautiful flow and rhythm in this next stage. And then once we're settled in there, it will probably be time to change again. And that's just a part of it all. So thank you for joining me today. And I can't wait to chat to you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope you found inspiration and empowerment in this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd be so grateful if you could share it with another mom who could use a little extra support or encouragement. By sharing, you're helping us build a community of strong, empowered mamas who are thriving in motherhood together. If you have a moment, please leave a quick review and rating. It really helps more moms like you find the show and feel supported on their journey. For more simple and transformative practices, come connect with me on Instagram at mama_time_yoga. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit follow so you never miss an episode. And until next time, take care of yourself, mama. You've got this.